I'll start with Seth Terkper. Now, the DDEP, as we've come to know it, has come to an end. It's concluded. What do you make of the figures put out by government and the achieved target? Do you feel this was what we expected?
Well, thank you very much. Let me make two comments on these very points. First of all, I think it's welcome news that we have come, to some point, where we would be moving on. I had expected that the external was moving alongside the domestic, but it appears what is coming out is that we are now going to, tackle the external. In as much as, it is good news, I don't think we should be jumping ahead of ourselves the way we did, with the SLA, which was a conditional agreement, which was portrayed as though we were close to getting an IMF agreement. Remember that the domestic debt exchange and the external debt exchange are preconditions for the IMF African department completing the program, the draft agreement, before it goes to the board, which has also made it a precondition for the loan agreement. They passing the loan agreement. It's only the board that can do that. So if you like, you can take it to be step one. I also suspect strongly that we have other prior actions typical of any IMF agreement. This is only one, probability of several, prior actions. And my hunch is that some of the measures that were announced in the budget, including the tax bills that are in Parliament now, are prior actions. I stand for correction, and I'll be surprised if I am wrong. So what that means is that once we have covered this first step, we now have to turn our attention to other prior actions which have not been published to date, which is likely tax expenditure. We know them, from going into an IMF, agreement. So whether we should have handled this, better or not, we have come to a major milestone. But I think we should probably, again, government should be a bit more transparent in telling us what is in the process so that we can be monitoring and not take, episodes along the way to raise a lot of expectation, only for it to be replaced, with an anxiety. Let me also comment briefly on, some of what was said.
So very briefly on that, the responses would have to be bite-sized so we can be able to cover quite a bit of issues to do with this. So yes, I'll let you go ahead, but very briefly on that.
Okay, just quickly. It's a debt exchange. It's not debt forgiveness. And we've moved from a developing to middle income. We were asked to join the debt suspension initiative, which we didn't. So I think we should come round to accepting as Ghanaians that we are now, albeit a lower middle income country. Yes, some bilaterals might decide to forgive some of our debt, but I think it's a posture that we have to manage our debt properly. It's what we need going into this IMF program, because we are not going to be treated like, fragile state, because even many developing countries, if I may take that strict classification, are not getting debt forgiveness. At best, many of them got debt suspension, during the COVID era. So these are, points which I'd like to make. I think that we should be also facing realism as we go through this and focus on what is it that, we are going to do going into this IMF program. The debt exchange is calibrated to the DSA, the debt sustainability analysis.
Right.
And so if we are making changes, we should be cognizant of the fact that we are not disturbing that debt sustainability, which will be crucial for reaching an agreement. We may come back to some of these points again.
Right.